my channel. My name is Mechelle and we're here with a new Mondays with Mechelle. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel so you can join me and get some more insight in regards to topics and things that I will be talking about in my videos. And if you haven't checked out the first video, well, my first two videos, they'll definitely be linked down below, and definitely go check them out so you can catch up to what we're going to be talking about today. But without further ado, we're going to get started with episode 3 of Mondays with Mechelle. Happy birthday to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Today's his birthday, and today we're going to talk about boundaries. How can we honor somebody and talk about somebody's birthday? Let's talk about boundaries, because you got to honor yourself and how you feel, because that matters. So, what are boundaries? This is what Google says about boundaries. A boundary is a line that marks the limits of an area, a dividing line, something physical. And then the other one is a limit to a subject or sphere or activity. So, what do you know about boundaries? What is a boundary of yours? Comment that down below. What do you think a boundary is, or give me an example of what is one of your boundaries and everything. But to go more in detail about boundaries, I definitely feel like it's very important for everybody to be able to have boundaries, and the word no is a boundary, and it's a complete sentence. So there are 7 boundaries that pretty much tie in to everybody's life and your own individual life, and those 7 are physical, sexual, emotional, mental, spiritual, financial, material, time, and non-negotiable boundaries. So to break those down, physical boundaries, I would say an example of physical boundary is, let's say physical and sexual can go hand in hand. It just depends on the aspect of what's going on. But for a physical boundary, I would say if somebody keeps hitting you or touching you, like if they just like grab your hand, or if they're always like finding a way to hug you or hold you, and that is very uncomfortable for you, one, that could be sexual harassment. And 2, especially if you went through previous things, or you just don't like people just randomly touching you and holding you and stuff, that's a boundary. You can say, no, I do not like to be touched. I do not like to be held, especially if you don't know them like that, or even if you know them, you're not comfortable with them for them to even do anything like that, because your physical boundaries is your physical body. So wherever your physical body goes, you have a invisible bubble that is called your boundaries, and you use your voice to express your boundaries so that anyone who communicates with you and you tell them what you do and do not like, and you make sure that with those boundaries, if they actually respect you and they really like you, then they're going to respect your boundaries, and they're not going to do things that's going to hurt you and make you upset and go against your boundary. Now, there are people in this world that like to test your boundaries. And for those who like to test boundaries, you know the best thing to do: cut them off. Cut them off. Because if you let someone keep continuously breaking your boundaries over and over again, they're going to look at you and be like, oh, you're not serious about your boundaries. So let's say, for example, let's say somebody always keeps bumping into you and you tell them to stop doing that, but they still continue to do that. One, you know that they don't respect you. And 2, at this point, you have to protect yourself. And if they do it again, you're gonna literally be like, yo, I need you to stop. Because it's either you're going to tell them to like really stop with the base of, hey, if you do this again, there's gonna be a real issue. Or if they shoulder check you, you shoulder check them back and you give them a dirty look like you shouldn't have done that in the first place. So don't look at me crazy because I see what you're doing and stuff. But, and then as far as sexual, that goes hand in hand. Someone's touching you inappropriately, or you're out on a date and you go back to someone's place, or even if you don't go back to someone's place, but let's say in that example, you're at somebody's house or they come over to your house and you're having some fun or whatever, but then you start feeling uncomfortable and you change your mind, you no longer want to engage in any other activities, and you tell that person, hey, let's stop. Someone who genuinely cares about you and your feelings, they will honor that and they will stop. Unfortunately, in certain situations, people go against what you're saying, and especially when you're saying the word no, which is a complete sentence, and things go really bad really, really quickly. Now, depending on the situation, you could fight them off and kick them out, or you fight them off, or you find a way to be like, hey, I gotta go to the bathroom, or whatever the situation is, and you dip. However the situation go. But either way, even if it's not as drastic as that, but that still counts. Or if you're just not in the mood to deal with someone in an intimate way, or you or somebody you know is like keep grazing your behind, or any area that appears to have more of a sexual manner and you're uncomfortable, you have to say no. You have to acknowledge those boundaries so that the people who you're expressing it to, they will realize, hey, you're not playing with them and it's not okay what they're doing. Because once you quiet that voice when you're very uncomfortable like that, because I know in a lot of situations, especially for women, I'm not saying men don't go through this either, but I know for a lot of women, we go through a lot of very uncomfortable sexual encounters, whether if it, and most of the time it doesn't even full-blown be the whole interaction with you being intimate with said person. It can literally be a simple, oh, they graze your bust area or your behind and stuff. Or if somebody's really bold, they try to grab your frontal area. And in certain situations, some women, they may get scared and they shut down, and they pretty much like close themselves off because of previous trauma, and it's really scary. And as a woman, I've experienced situations like that, and I will say not in all situations I ever spoke up about it. And I'm saying this now for anybody that has been through a situation like that or is going through a situation where they feel uncomfortable and they can't fully express their boundaries to a person. Just say it. Don't even be scared. Isn't like, you can't people please, you can't do none of that no more. You literally have to stand up for yourself, because when you really think about it, nobody's going to save you. You have to realize that in a lot of situations, your boundaries is what will save your life. In certain situations, well, not even certain, many situations, your boundaries can save your life and stop you or stop others from making bad decisions. So financial and material, money wise. So let's say you have people that's asking you for money all the time, and it's like, okay, like you'll help them, and then after a while you're like, And they'll be like, oh, I'll pay you back, or whatever. But when you really think about it, after a while you get tired of giving people money and you feel like a bank when you're not a bank. You know that they need to be able to get themselves together so they can provide for themselves. You have to set boundaries with that. The number one boundary is, hey, I understand you going through a lot, but I can no longer help you financially. And if that means you have to have those very uncomfortable conversations, it has to be done. Because at the end of the day, you got to honor yourself. That's what this whole podcast is about. Your whole journey is about you honoring yourself, telling your truth, telling your story. And you want to make sure that when it comes to your finances, you're using it for the purposes that you need to use it for. And then the same thing with materials. So let's say physically, you may have a dress, or somebody wants to borrow your car, or they request food all the time. Like, just material things that you can physically hold on to, or take, or ask for, to receive, or to give. Those are items that I'm talking about, and you have to set boundaries with that in regards to that. Like, oh, let's say someone's like, oh, I want to borrow your car. I need to do this, that, and the third. With discretion, you have to either say yes or no. Depending on the person's situation, a lot of times you may say no because there's a lot of stuff that goes in with that. Or vice versa, you may say yes in certain situations, but it can't always be a consistent thing. Spiritual. You have to have spiritual boundaries. And spiritual for me is self and my own personal connection with God, the universe, and Mother Earth. Of course, religion is a big thing for a lot of people, and you have to respect that. Those are boundaries that across the board you have to honor and respect people's differences of opinions, of views. Of course, you're not always going to agree with what someone else does in their life when it comes to their spirituality practice. Their practices, how they view the universe and God. You have to honor that. You have to respect that. And if anybody's always coming at you and attacking you about your belief systems, yeah, you have to tell them, hey, you don't have to agree or like what I believe in, but at least respect it. Of course, there are certain situations where if what you believe in can potentially hurt another person, then that goes into a whole other conversation and topic. When you're talking about different types of hate groups and other things of that sort, that's a whole other conversation. But I will not be discussing that in this video. The next one will be time. So time boundaries, okay. A time boundary to me would be, let's say you're going to bed. It don't have to be like, yeah. Let's say you have a schedule. You're trying to create a routine for yourself, and you want to go to bed at a certain time, and you have people reach out to you during the time that you're getting ready for bed, or you're already in bed and they're calling you at odd evenings of the night, and you're like, hey, you can't do that. That's a boundary you have to set right there. If they keep calling you, honestly, don't even answer the phone. Unless it's really an emergency, then answer the phone. But anybody that truly cares about you and respects you, they're not going to call unless it's really an emergency. And when I mean emergency, it's like something really bad is going on, or something like really, really drastic, I would say. I'd rather say drastic. A big situation that requires your attention and not something petty and everything. But another thing related to time boundaries is, let's say you're in a relationship with somebody And this will also go into non-negotiables. So let's say you're in a relationship with somebody and your goal is to get married and have children, or your goal in that relationship is to get married. Let's start there. In the beginning, or at least at some point in that relationship, you're having a conversation with your partner and saying, hey, these are the things that I want and require from you as a partner. And if you can do those things, or you're able to honor those wishes, not even wishes, honor those non-negotiables. Let's say no cheating as a big one. Actually being able to properly communicate with your partner, regardless of actually having, well, let me reword it. Having good communication skills, which means even if it's a hard conversation to have, still have that conversation, especially if it's along lines of something that's really bothering you, or something happens at that moment. Address it and don't hold on to that anger and internalize it, but you're doing outwardly things that can be passive aggressive and throw off your partner, and they're like, why are you upset? And you're not expressing that. That can be something, just having that communication to be able to openly express your feelings in a way where you are able to communicate with your partner effectively, and they can communicate with you without every single conversation feeling like a fight or argument. You both actually can equally have give and take conversations and be able to work through it to have a end goal to the conversation. Like, everybody has their non-negotiables, and time goes along with it. So let's say you're in a relationship and you want to get married within the next, like within 2 years of being in the relationship, if that person is the person you want to marry, and you giving them 2 years, or you're hoping within the 2 years of you being in that relationship, it's like, okay, you want to get married, you want to have children, like you want to progress towards that route, if that is the way that you want to go. Or, yeah, I'm gonna just stick with that. If that's the way that you want to go, then, and if your partner does not do that, it's either you're going to walk away. If that's a non-negotiable, then you have to walk away, because not everybody's goal is to get married, or not everybody wants to have children. And if that is a non-negotiable for you, you want to have children at some point in your life and your partner doesn't, then you have to have that difficult conversation so both parties can be satisfied in the end, because you don't want to bring a child into a relationship when that partner does not actually want said child, and vice versa. You don't want anybody to be uncomfortable with big decisions like that. You got to be honest. You don't want to put anybody in a position where they are questioning everything in their life. Now, with your non-negotiables, it's not a question. That's you directly letting them know what you want, what you need, and what you expect from that person. And if they can't give you those things, or if they know they're not capable of honoring those things that you are requesting, you know that's not the right person. And at least you know you're not wasting time with that person, or wasting time in that job when you know you're not getting what you need out of that environment. Because it's not always a relationship with a partner. It could even be friends. It could be family members. It could be at any point or aspect of your life. So I definitely want to make that clear. Like, it's not just about relationships with a significant other, but it's broad. You can have boundaries with anybody and everybody throughout your entire life. You can have boundaries with your friends, boundaries with your family. You definitely want to have boundaries with everybody, because you don't want anybody to take advantage of you. Because people think if you don't have boundaries or you lack boundaries, they're going to run all over you. They're going to take advantage of your kindness for weakness. But the moment you stand up for yourself and you say, hey, I don't like this, I will not accept this, and you actually get up and walk away, that's you taking, not only you taking your power back, but you honoring yourself. And you know that whoever you just walked away from, they was never meant to be in your life. They all they wanted to be in your life for was to either to use you, to mistreat you. They never liked you, they never cared about you, they never honored you. They liked you because you didn't have boundaries. They liked you because you let them do whatever they could do to you. And that's what we're going to stop doing now moving forward. Because after a while, when people keep on doing things to you, and you taking it, and then one day you're like, no. You literally wake up one day and you're like, no. You get tired, you're like, no, you know what? And I can say this. Boundaries are scary in the beginning because you're like, oh my God. Like, is this real? Like, me standing up for myself? Especially if you've been so accustomed to people pleasing. Oh, if you've been accustomed to people pleasing, boundaries and people pleasing, it's like they repel each other. Because people pleasing, pretty much you want to please everybody in every situation. And the reality is you can't. Because if you do, you're going to drain yourself bone dry. And you won't be happy. You're going to be burnt out with no hair on your head, wrinkles all over your face, stressed out, just doing craziness, just running all over the place like a chicken with his head cut off. No, we're not doing that no more. We are not doing that no more. You're going to set boundaries. When you need to say no, say no. You cannot be over here, over there, up there, down there. You can't. You're only one person. Do what you want to do, but also respect that if you are going to set those boundaries, make sure it's something that makes sense. Don't set a boundary for yourself or set boundaries to other people so they don't hurt you as a way to control them. Don't do that. Don't set boundaries to have that aspect where you feel like you controlling them. Don't do that, because the boundary is not for them, it's for you, to let them know what they cannot do to you, what you will not accept for them to do to you. Okay? I want to let y'all know that, because y'all not about to come and comment underneath this video talking about some, well, I took your advice and this, that, and the third. No, ma'am. If you going to, the one thing I want you to get out of this video is that there are different aspects to boundaries, and with those boundaries that you create in your own personal life due to your own circumstances, it's going to help you in the long run. Because if you continue not to set boundaries with others, you're going to be even more stressed out. You're going to wonder why you keep going through the same situations over and over and over again, and you keep on asking yourself, why am I going through this? Why I keep going through this? That's because you keep allowing people to mistreat you. We're not doing it no more, okay? So I'm gonna end this video here with saying no to people using you, mistreating you, and yes to moving forward and being happy and standing 10 toes down on business and just being happy and acknowledging that with your boundaries, it's not to make the other person happy. So if they get mad because you're setting boundaries, that tells you right there, all they ever wanted was to use you. They never cared about you. So keep moving, keep pushing, stand on business, and you stand on those boundaries. And I will see you guys in my next video on Mondays with Mechelle. Bye.